See the weight you carry, it's written in your eyes. The kind of ache that takes up every corner of your mind. You're sitting in the silence, drowning in the doubt. I've been sitting there before, I know there's a way out. The world feels like it's caving in. Those dark thoughts, don't let them win. Just stay. Just stay. I know it's almost more than you can take. Please just stay. I swear the light will find you someday, and you'll be glad you stayed. So just stay.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another week of the Just Stay podcast. We are excited to have a guest on here with us. Her name is Tatiana, and she has been an early supporter of our movement and our podcast. And I'm excited to have her on here. Our families are kind of linked. We decided we're not really related, but I am her tia.
Yeah, my mom had just said that actually Troy is my dad's cousin, so their moms are sisters.
Oh, really? Okay.
I knew there was something between that, and so she just walked in and I just said that right now.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up. Which that wouldn't make me your tia, really,
Yeah,
but I'm your tia.
This family still, yeah.
We're like Mexican related.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it goes.
And so I am going to turn the time over to Tatiana to just kind of introduce herself and explain why she's here.
Okay, perfect. So my name's Tatiana. I am 16 years old. I turned 17 next Friday, and I've grown up playing basketball and growing up with mental health trials throughout that time. And I've had family members go through mental health and siblings too, my two sisters, and some friends and other people from schools and sports and other things. And so I just want to learn how to help people overcome their trials.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And you are still currently in high school, right?
Yes, I am a junior at Skyline. So
okay.
Nice.
Okay. Well, perfect. I notice you on our Just Stay Instagram quite a bit, just sharing our content and commenting and being a supporter. And I always wonder when people are supporters like that, where that comes from. Like if it hits close to home or if they've had somebody that they love struggle with it, or kind of where that came from. So I really appreciate you being a voice in this space.
I guess if obviously like you can be as open as you want to be, but what does I guess the importance of taking care of your mental health mean to you?
I feel like it is just something that can come with permanent solutions and other things if you take it in a negative way. So it's something that you should be very positive towards and open about. Like, I feel like I used to kind of hide it a little bit or be more of like, I shouldn't feel this way, or like it's something that, or I'm not feeling this way. So kind of just letting it all kind of come to you. Like when you feel that certain way, it's better to just feel it and let it happen than to put it off and not move through it, or that will cause a bigger struggle.
I love that. How old were you when you notice that you were struggling mentally, and did you recognize it for what it was?
I was 13 and I just kind of started having panic attacks a little bit. Just I was a worrier, just kind of worrying about everything really. I'm allergic to a lot of things, so being a little kid and around like I was allergic to peanut butter, so kids would like tease me with it and other things, and that's where my anxiety started. And then panic attacks started to happen and kids would just say a bunch of things. So I feel like words go a long way, and at that time I just put it off. Like that was where I felt in that moment, like I shouldn't be feeling this way, I'm overreacting, like they're doing what's right, they're just being kids. And until like one day, like it became like a really bad panic attack, so I opened up to my parents about it, and I've been going to counseling since, and I feel like opening up about that has helped me a lot more.
That's amazing. What did that conversation with your parents look like? Did you feel like they were perceptive? Because not only are you a high school student and struggled with this when you were starting to be 13, but
Mhm.
then you also have this cultural,
Mhm.
um, I'm going to say stigma,
Yeah,
because I feel like different cultures handle mental health differently.
for sure. Yes.
And so, how was that perceived when you talked to your parents about what you were struggling with?
At first, when I was a little kid, they were kind of in disbelief a little bit because I've always been a very happy kid and social kid. And so, me coming to them about feeling that certain way and being like, I don't know if it was my fault that I'm feeling this way or the kid's fault for doing these certain things to me and other things. And they just kind of had me tell the full story, and they started to realize that I was really struggling with anxiety and just social. It seemed pretty easy for me, like having a lot of friends, but still I was a very shy kid. So at first they were like, just keep being nice. Like that's all you can really do is just be nice to others, no matter how it is towards you. Being kind doesn't cost you anything. And so I would just move forward with it, and we put it off a little bit, and then we ended up months later, it was like panic attacks over just worrying now. It wasn't just only the peanut butter and all of that stuff and being a little kid. It ended up leading into like middle school and just having that big change. And then the worst was high school, with me and some of my friends losing one of our friends at a young age due to a car crash our freshman year. And so I had stopped going to counseling for 2 years since I was like 13. And then I ended up having to come back to it due to that crash and having to move forward in life and experience our high school careers without her. So, like, having to overcome that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like for your age, I feel like you have so much, I guess, like emotional maturity. I, when I'm trying to think when I was 13, I don't think that I was even aware. And I do realize that times are different. And,
Mhm.
we talk about mental health a lot more nowadays. But when I was your age, I wasn't even, I was an anxious kid as well, but I don't think that I ever could have identified what I was feeling and tried to make sense of it. So I really think that that's an impressive skill that you have.
Thank you.
That's a lot of self-awareness too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you think has given you the courage to be so vocal about mental health? Because I don't feel like you're somebody that has shied away from it at all.
Mhm. I feel like I did like how we talked about being emotionally mature about it and mental health wise. I just feel like I learned at such a young age that how I was feeling, and I'm blessed to have a parents that like kind of like it's okay to feel this way and be open about me feeling comfortable to open up to my parents about it or my siblings. I have a very comfortable family and very family orientated, so like I'm okay to speak to them about these certain things, and I feel like that's why I'm so successful in helping others. And I've had people come to me of like all different ages, so I feel like being able to have all of that at such a young age, like in high school, be able to fully like realize like where I'm at and how I feel. And I have already learned from counseling in previous years, so I started it again my freshman year, and I feel like this time, instead of having a negative mindset into going into counseling, because the first time I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I've seen people have negative outcomes and positive outcomes. Like, I was thinking the worst. So when you're in that mindset, things will kind of tend to go wrong sometimes, even when you don't mean it to. So when you look at things with a positive perspective and like, what if it could go right, and what if I can get the things I need and the help I need? But at the end of the day, it's you that has to push yourself further. Your family can help you, your friends, resources, but at the end of the day, it's you that has to have that positive perspective and go into things with a positive mindset.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. What would you say? I'm sure you've learned a lot of skills while being in therapy, being in counseling. What would you say are some of your go-to coping skills when you're feeling like anxious or
I've realized that throughout this has been a technique I've used throughout the years that has never changed. And I feel like it's temperature change. I'm a kind of person where when I get anxiety, I tend to get hot. I feel like, and that happened during basketball games. I took basketball very seriously. I've been playing since I was 5, and I just recently let go of it this summer. But before games, I would just get super hot and overwhelmed. So I knew that I had to go into this game with a positive mindset and not like, oh no, what if we lose? What if our team's not ready? Did we practice enough? So I would go and get an ice pack and put it on my neck or put it on the back of my back, and it just changes you. It brings you out of that hole, kind of. Like it brings you back to where you are in the moment instead of worrying. Or if that takes you in the middle of school days, I've had to just go outside and just sit out there. And like sometimes that's all it takes, because if you're feeling hot, it just goes cold and it kind of slows down your breathing. Or the other way around, if you get super cold, maybe go sit by a heater or go sit with family and friends. It just kind of temperature changes up a lot. And I think now that I'm older, EMDR for sure.
really?
Yes.
Okay. We've talked a lot about EMDR on our podcast, and I always talk about like I love what it does for me, but getting into the mindset to do it is really hard for me.
For
When my
sure.
therapist is like, "We're gonna try to do some EMDR next week," I'm like, I can't make it actually.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dread.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And then every time you do it, it's like you get so much clarity, and it's like you know you need it,
Yeah.
but it is I can't imagine being somebody your age and being brave enough to do that EMDR and face the trauma that you have, and
Yeah.
so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. And I also think that just the fact that you're so aware of that temperature change and how it can help you. I don't think that um like even now I have a hard time when I'm in the middle of spiraling. If I'm feeling like I'm going to have a panic attack come on, I feel like my common sense kind of goes out the window, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So the fact that you can sense it coming on and then actually do something about it, that is amazing. That is such an amazing skill, because
Thank you.
I'm 30 years old and I'm still like a lot of times my safe people around me know how to handle that, but it's like everything that I know and have learned, sometimes it feels like it left my brain, you know?
Yeah,
So
I
that's
always say
amazing.
like it just kind of like when you're in that mindset, it just goes out the window. Like you forget everything you've learned, and sometimes you just kind of have to gather yourself. So that temperature change just makes you think about where you're at right now. Like, what am I feeling? What is the feeling and the emotions I feel? Are my hands shaking? Are my feet shaking? Just realize where your body's at in the moment will like calm you down, and then you can bring your senses together and like figure out what you're gonna do like from there.
Yeah, I love that. It's got to be hard at your age being open with your peers about mental health, because then in turn you kind of turn into somebody that others turn to when they need support. And
Yes.
that's a heavy load to carry. So, how do you handle that when your peers are struggling and they're turning to you for support?
I'm a very people person. I'm blessed with a lot of friendships from different ages and everything. So people have come to me at first a couple months ago. If you were to ask me to help you with anything, I for sure would. And sometimes that was even being me going to basketball practice and then 5 different hangouts to go hang out with those people, because I used to always be like, "Oh, what if well, what if they're feeling anxiety like me too, and I don't know how they're feeling and they wanna hang out?" And so I didn't wanna say no to anyone. And so I would stack up my whole schedule, which would build kind of my struggles up more, because I'm also struggling, but they don't know that either. And I'm the person to always put others first. It makes me feel better when other people are happy and other people are safe and comfortable. And so my mom told me this probably a couple months ago when I was really struggling, because one night at dinner, I just kind of broke down in tears because my phone was blowing up from all of them asking if I was going to be able, but I never agreed to hang out with any of them because I didn't want to say no to one person and say yes to the other. And so my mom just said, turn your phone off. It's okay to put yourself first. And sometimes that is what it takes to just be like, hey guys, like, I'm just gonna have a day off. Like, I need a break. There's a lot going on. Like, I will find time in my schedule to like help everyone, like to go hang out with everyone. And so I feel like just realizing like putting your mental health first, because I always say like you can't love others if you can't love yourself first. So knowing where you're at and where you stand and being able to take care of others, you have to make sure that you're okay first.
I love that. Have you ever gotten to a point with a friend that you know that like you can't help them on your own?
Yes.
And what do you do in that situation?
Sometimes like I know a lot of people will get guilt. I used to feel like that too, like, oh no, like I should have a solution for everything, kind of like I should know everything. And but it isn't your fault. You just have to come to realize that like sometimes you're not going to be able, people won't know how to help you, but you're going to have to learn how to help yourself a little bit and move along with things and overcome trials. So I feel like just doing your best that you can, whether that's listening, whether some people just like sitting in silence, just always open to everyone, kind of having an open mindset will help you a lot along the way.
Awesome.
I feel like you have a lot of life skills that you've learned very early um, in life compared to most people. What would you say? You know, you say that you're very, and I believe it by the way that you're talking, and I can see why people would love you. You have lots of different friendships and relationships with people. Would you say that when your mental health isn't doing great, do those relationships suffer at all?
In my opinion, I feel like they do, but when you find the right friendships, they will feel no change in how you're feeling or how you're acting. If you're distant a little bit, they won't question it because they know where I stand with my standards, as in, I have to help myself. If I don't answer, I'm probably just spending time with my family or trying to calm myself down a little bit. So just kind of having the closest people to you in your life kind of know what's going on a little bit, because sometimes you don't want to reach out to people, but sometimes like that's the best thing to offer, is because there's so many outlets that most people don't know about. And so if you really just reach out and listen to people, you can find out a lot more on like how to help yourself and others.
I feel like I've learned that lesson recently, just that um I think that at different times in our life we have different needs, and especially for friendships, and I've had to come to terms with the fact that like I need friends right now that aren't super high maintenance, you know.
Don't require a lot of energy.
Thank you. That's a
For
much
sure.
nicer way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that don't require a lot of energy, because a lot of times I don't have much energy left to give, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I really love that, because in the past I have felt like my mental struggles have affected a lot of my relationships. And every once in a while, there will be a friendship that no matter how hard of a time that I've had, no matter how many times like I haven't responded to a text, they don't give up on me, you know? And
Yeah.
that's where I know that that is a friend that I need right now, you know?
Yes,
So
for
I
sure.
just really love that you're aware of that, because it honestly doesn't change as you get older, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I said in our previous recording that didn't record, our families have been intermingled on and off your whole life.
Hmm.
Her dad and my husband grew up together and are apparently cousins. For real.
Yeah.
Actual.
Let's figure that out.
And I think that like your dad and my husband have been reconnecting slowly throughout the years
Yeah.
and we golf on a regular basis and,
Yeah.
but when Elia passed, and I don't know if this is cultural because I've never experienced anything like this,
Yeah.
because I've never lost anybody close to me other than my grandma, but your family just showed up. Like there was a lot of families that just showed up. I think your dad brought drinks one day. Like they just showed up and sat for hours with us, and that meant a lot. And I don't know if the roles are reversed, if I would feel comfortable doing that. In my head, I'd be like, why would they want us there? We're not even that close. Why would they want us there? We're just going to be in the way. But I wanted to let you know that that meant a lot to have your family there and be present. And
Of course.
I'm grateful for your parents for kind of showing you guys that example and what it means to like lose somebody and then be there for somebody that's going through that loss, I think is huge. We had a house full of people for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was just like weirdly something that I needed because we talk about isolating in mental health and pushing people away when you're struggling. And there is no mental struggle quite like grief, especially like I can only talk about losing a child from that, but literally not being able to be alone during a mental struggle, whether it be grief or anxiety or depression, is huge. And it's something that I think is the only thing that can get us through those hard times. And yet, subconsciously, we want to push those relationships away because we don't want anybody to see us in that space,
Exactly.
And so, I think I just wanted to say thank you to you and your family for that.
Of course.
But when we talked about having you on here, you had kind of said that you had a message that you wanted to get out, that there was a lot of people in your high school struggling with mental health and that this was a way for you to advocate for them. What message do you want to get out to your peers and those around you?
I just feel like being very open-minded, you don't know like how much your words affect someone's like daily life, like or how many times like that lives rent free in your head. Like I could think back to a compliment like 2 years ago from like a senior or something, like that's just how much it means to certain people. So just being open and like always kind. And I know that like I used to like hide a lot of my struggles. So just like if you feel like alone, like you are not at all. Like everyone struggles in their own ways, whether that's home life, friendship, sports, whatever it is, school, work. It's all kind of the same. So everyone connects in like a certain way, and we just don't know it yet. So if you just reach out to others, whether that's like complimenting someone in the hallway or inviting someone to your house after school to do homework, small things like that can change so many people's lives and build friendships and make people feel more connected at such like a young age during this hard time in the world right now when suicide rates and mental health is a big problem in society today.
I think it's really brave of you to use your voice and try and make a difference when you're in high school. I just remember feeling I think when you're in high school, it's a very vulnerable age and time. And I remember I cared a lot about what people thought of me too much. And I I just really, really appreciate the way that you're handling this because it would be really easy to just, kind of take care of yourself and I guess not really make the effort to make sure that other people have these same resources. And so, yeah, I just want to say good job because you're really setting an example for tons of people, not only your age, but adults too, to, I guess, to just reach out to those that we love and care about and those that we don't even know. And yeah, thanks for setting such a good example.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have any questions for us? I know we've asked you a lot of questions. You probably feel like you've been in an
Interrogated.
interrogation.
No,
Do you have any questions for us? We're kind of open books.
I guess some of like your ways that you guys have to like cope, especially like I feel like people need things to cope with during like the day, whether that's like breathing for you guys or like how I said temperature change. Like what are you guys able to do in like public settings, like for people that struggle at school and just other places that are publicly and they don't really know what to do?
That is a good question. I know that obviously, I know everyone knows this, but breathing is a big one for me. I don't know if it's because it's easier to remember or because it's the most effective for me, but I really do box breathing most of the time. Like when I'm starting to feel like I'm a little bit on the panicky side, I have to start breathing immediately. And I also have like, I know not everyone does, but a device that I have in my Apple Watch. But if you have something that you wear that can monitor your heart rate, I actually, like the other day in church, it was a totally random thing where I wasn't even consciously thinking about something, and I started feeling like my heart was racing and started feeling sweaty and started feeling a little disoriented, and that's when it was a little too late, but I realized that I was about to have a panic attack. And at that point, I needed to be breathing, but I also just needed to remove myself from the situation. And I know that sometimes you can't always do that, but I think that's why the temperature change is so effective, right? Because it can essentially kind of remove you from that situation a little bit. But I had to like get up and go outside and walk around. And yeah, so I think honestly, this is actually something that I found really effective recently is it's called a breathing buddy, and it's this cute little, it's like a little silicone, different little animals you can get on Amazon, and it lights up for inhales. It changes color for inhale, hold, and
cool.
exhale.
Yeah.
That's
And
actually so cool.
it sounds really kiddie, but I swear that like when you're in that state of you're not really thinking straight, I have this box that has all of my stuff for a panic attack in it, and I'll get my box and it has this little thing, and I just push a button and it has different patterns, and it helps me stay focused on what I'm supposed to be doing. And anyway, so I know that that's like, obviously you can't carry that around with you everywhere, but for someone who may struggle with panic attacks or anxiety attacks, and they, I guess, would regularly need coping skills, that's actually something that's been really helpful for me because it's a physical, tangible thing that helps me with breathing.
That's cool.
What's it called?
A breathing buddy.
Yeah, I need to
That's
like
cool.
look into
I
that.
know. I need to get one of those. That's cool.
Yeah, it
I've
is really
noticed a lot of high school students do have a bunch of fidgets and things that like needles are. I don't know if you guys
Oh
know what
yeah.
those are.
I
Mhm.
Like
don't.
they're just like all over this. Like I have one right here. It's a gummy bear one. Whether that's just like a little thing, like I feel like that's very useful in a school day basis too, or a workplace. Like my parents have some, and just little fidgets that. So that's a cool mechanism as well.
Yeah.
Love it.
I feel like when I'm feeling something, and I'm going to say out of control, because when I feel overwhelmed by emotion, I feel out of control. And that's something that I struggle with, is trying to always be in control of myself. Like in the middle of my workday, I don't have time to have an anxiety attack. I've got people waiting on me. I've got, and so I'll go into my back room and I'll say, I'm having an anxiety attack to whoever is there, even if nobody's in there. And I admit what's going on out loud and I acknowledge it. And then I let myself feel it. And then I'm like, I talk to myself and I'm like, you're okay. Like I kind of have a conversation with myself, or my poor girls that work with me at the salon, I'll just walk back and be like, I'm having an anxiety attack. And they just kind of know that like I might cry and I might hyperventilate a little bit. But the other thing is that sometimes my anxiety attacks come from me suppressing my emotions too much. And so if I'm going through a phase where I am struggling and I'm just shoving that struggle down and not acknowledging it and not acknowledging my feelings, it's going to bite me in the butt. And so I'm trying to learn through therapy and through EMDR how to acknowledge my feelings and allow myself to feel them. Because up until Elia passed, I was somebody that would be like, I would feel something sad and then I would do something to distract myself from my feelings. And those feelings don't have anywhere to go. Like you can't release them when you just are constantly pushing them down. And so now, as hard as it is for me, I will be like, you know what I'm feeling right now is sadness and it's grief and it's loss. And I need to sit in my pain for a minute. And it kind of feels worse before it gets better. And to sit in the pain and acknowledge it and feel it and cry it out, it kind of feels like you're crashing out, you know?
Mhm.
But then you survive your feelings and you can kind of work through them. And I always, always, always tell somebody, I think everybody needs a safe person. Troy is my safe person. And I will always come to him, whether it be a day or two later, and be like, I crashed out a couple nights ago. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, I got really sad. And I felt A, B, C, and D. And I said, I felt inadequate. And I felt this way. And I felt this way. And sometimes his response helped me. And sometimes they don't, to be honest. Your safe person is not always going to tell you what you need to hear. And that's okay. But he helps me to just bounce those ideas off. And for him to be like, I think it's normal for you to feel this way. And I think, sometimes he's like, I don't think it's warranted. And then sometimes he's like, where do you think that comes from? But I always have to, I'm a vocal person. I say it all the time. I have to heal out loud. My feelings and what I'm going through, I have to say it out loud to somebody or even just to myself. And so if I'm struggling, I like to try to figure out what it is I'm feeling. And I will just say, you're feeling inadequate. You're feeling this, and I'm admitting it. And then I sit in it and I allow myself to feel it. And then the next morning I can wake up and be like, okay, I feel like there's a weight off of my chest. But take it from somebody that has run away from their feelings their whole life. Your feelings that you run away from, that you don't acknowledge, don't just go away. They kind of lay in hiding until something weakens you to the point where you just feel everything all at once. And so I'm very proud of you for being able to work through your feelings at such a young age and acknowledge them. Because, I don't know if it's my generation that we just weren't taught those coping skills, or we didn't see what coping with our emotions looked like, and struggling was a bad thing,
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's just a very human experience. Struggling is a human experience. And so I would say find your safe person, feel your feelings, don't run away from them, and then don't try to get over them by yourself. Like, have your safe person there to catch you when you fall. And the crazy thing about a safe person is one day when they need you, you can catch them when they fall too,
For sure.
So, yeah,
I love
that was a
that.
long-winded answer, but
No,
I
that's
love
a
that.
great answer.
I
yeah.
love that.
So, any other questions or any other tidbits you want to get out?
I just feel like going off that too with EMDR a little bit. Some people do go to counseling, but I feel like you can use some of the mechanisms as well if you don't go to counseling. As in, when EMDR, you walk whoever it is, whether that be a parent or a friend or your therapist, through the trauma that you've had in your past, or whether that wasn't that long ago and it was recent. You walk them through that full story. At EMDR, I've walked through, like, how did I feel at my friend's funeral my freshman year? And how did I see the people around me? And I've realized that when I used to tell the story in the past, it used to be as in, like, I would just break down. I could barely speak on it. And I would just have huge panic attacks. But I've realized that When you look at it from a movie screen, we call it a movie screen, that as in you're walking, you're not in your body at the moment. So, like, I walk into this whole story. I walk into the funeral as in I can see myself instead of me being in my body, or else you will get panicked and you'll feel the whole way you did that in that whole situation and your trauma. So, if you look at it from a movie screen and through EMDR, I've looked at how instead of looking at the negative things, I walk into the funeral and I see that I wasn't alone. I felt like I was alone in the moment. When I tell this story from my perspective, it feels like I'm alone. But when I walk through EMDR with it, I can feel that I can see that I'm with my friends. I wasn't alone. We were in this together. And then when we leave the place, we're all still together and everyone's still together. So just looking at like the good things in bad situations will change your perspective on the story. And that is how I'm willing to go and look back at the past and realize that wasn't the end of the tunnel. I'm okay if I made it through that. If there's a different trial or something along those lines that comes up again, you can make it through it and just go through it. So just you said earlier, Brandy, walking through it, or else it's kind of like I said earlier, a bubble kind of. If you don't progressively let it all out, or I am feeling this way, and you just keep distracting yourself or putting things off, one day you just kind of burst, and that is the worst circumstance that we just don't want it to get to. So just opening up to others or realizing that did happen and I'm okay to move on.
Yes. I love that.
That's beautiful.
I think that's a good note to end on. I would say my major takeaways are talk about your feelings and know that you're not alone. And again, human connection is going to be what heals us all. So thank you for having the courage to reach out to us, not only to do the podcast, but to just on the day-to-day on our content. You kind of motivate me to get my butt moving again. We've been kind of slacking through our struggles with content, and I think it is important and we got to stay with it. So thank you for that reminder that we are being heard. And Tatiana, I hope you know how strong you are. And even though you may not feel like you're helping people, you are absolutely making a difference in people's lives. So yeah, I feel like honored to have you on here.
Thank you.
Yes. And then for those listeners that are here this week, we are so thankful for your support, and we're thankful that you're here with us for another week, and we will see you all next week.
See ya.
Thank you.